You're dead. It happened. No coming back. Your body is gone. Your voice is gone. Everything you owned, gone. And within 50 years, nobody remembers your name. Not a single person on Earth knows you ever existed. Just reading that sentence. How does that feel? Because right now, billions of people are posting photos, making videos, writing things online, and deep down, they're all running from that exact feeling. And 4,500 years ago, one man was so terrified of being forgotten that he built the largest structure in human history, just to be remembered. And it worked. You know his name. You've seen his tomb. You're thinking about him right now. So here's the real question. Why does being forgotten feel like the worst thing that could ever happen to us? Why do we care so much about what people think of us after we can't even feel it anymore? Today, we're going deep. Psychology, history, neuroscience, and some uncomfortable truths about why you do almost everything you do. Every single human civilization, everyone, no matter how isolated, no matter how different their language, their food, their gods, they all did one thing the same. 30,000 years ago, a human being crawled into a dark cave and drew their handprint on the wall. No tools, no light, just determination to leave a mark. That person and you, separated by 30,000 years, are doing the exact same thing. That's Kent, the mother writing in a diary nobody will read. That's the old man planting a tree he'll never see grow. They're the teenager posting every single moment of their life. And the artist painting through the night. That's all different, all the same, all terrified of disappearing. But why is this fear so universal? Why does every human, regardless of culture, religion, or era, share this exact same obsession? The answer starts in your brain. And it's darker than you think. Here's something no other animal has to deal with. Elephants don't lie awake thinking about dying. Dogs don't plan their legacy. Birds don't build monuments. But you do, because you are the only creature on Earth who knows with full certainty that one day you will die. And that knowledge, that constant background awareness, is so psychologically heavy that your brain has spent your entire life finding ways to cope with it. In 1973, a man named Ernest Becker wrote a book called The Denial of Death. It won the Pulitzer Prize, and its central argument was this: everything humans build, every ambition, every relationship, every creative work, every legacy is ultimately a response to one thing: their terror of knowing we are going to die. Psychologists call this terror management theory. The idea is simple but devastating. When we can't escape death physically, we try to escape it symbolically. We build things that outlast us. We create an identity so strong that even when the body dies, something of us remains. A child is your biological legacy, a business is your financial legacy, art is your creative legacy, a reputation is your social legacy. But they're all the same thing, a version of you that refuses to die. Researchers tested this in a fascinating way. They took two groups of people. Group 1 was subtly reminded of their own mortality, just a few words about death on a screen. Group 2 saw nothing. The group reminded of death immediately became more creative, more generous, more driven. They donated more money. They worked harder on creative tasks. They held their loved ones closer. Doesn't just scare us, it activates us. The awareness that our time is limited is literally what pushes us to create, to love harder, to build something that matters. Your mortality is not your enemy. It might be your greatest motivator. Shah Jahan, emperor of the Mughal Empire, one of the most powerful men in the world, he had everything. And then he lost the one person who made everything feel worthwhile. He spent 22 years, and the equivalent of billions of dollars today, building a tomb so magnificent, so impossibly beautiful, that 400 years later, you still say her name, Mumtaz. It worked. Beethoven lost his hearing completely, the one thing a musician needs most. Gone. But he kept composing, not because he could hear the music, because you could. Centuries later, Van Gogh sold exactly one painting in his lifetime. He died broke, alone, in pain. Today his work is worth hundreds of millions. He never saw it, but something in him kept painting anyway. Not for money, not for fame, for the feeling that what he made would last. The Pharaoh needed the largest building ever constructed just to survive in memory. Beethoven needed a pen and paper. Van Gogh needed paint and a canvas. The size of the legacy had nothing to do with the resources used. It had everything to do with the depth of meaning behind the work. And I mean this genuinely. So what do you want to be remembered for? Not what sounds good. Not what your parents want. The real answer. Your answer. Drop it in the comments right now. I read every single comment and I reply to as many as I can. Stars, now here's where it gets uncomfortable. Because everything we just talked about, the pharaohs, the artists, the builders, it's all happening right now. On your phone, every single day, every time you post something and people respond, your brain releases dopamine, the same chemical triggered by food, by safety. Because on a primal level, the being seen feels like surviving. Being liked feels like mattering. Going viral feels like immortality, even if it lasts 48 hours. Social media didn't create this desire. It just gave 8 billion people the tools the pharaohs didn't have. Every selfie is a cave painting. Every viral video is a pyramid. Same fear, new format. But here's the trap. When your legacy lives on a platform that can disappear overnight, when your sense of mattering depends on an algorithm, you haven't escaped the fear of being forgotten. You've just handed the keys to someone else. The most lasting legacies in history weren't built on approval. They were built on obsession, on meaning, on work so honest and so true that the world had no choice but to remember it. Here's the uncomfortable truth that nobody wants to say out loud. Chasing legacy rarely creates one. But chasing meaning almost always does. The old man who plants a tree he'll never see grow tall. He's not thinking about his legacy, he's thinking about shade, for someone he'll never meet. That's the purest form of legacy there is. When you chase meaning, the work becomes real, and real work lasts. But when you chase legacy directly, you skip the only part that actually creates it. You don't need to build a pyramid. You don't need 1 million followers. You don't need a masterpiece. You need one person whose life was different because you were in it. One idea you passed on. One moment someone looks back on and says, "That person mattered to me." That is a legacy. That has always been a legacy. The Sphinx has watched civilizations rise and fall for 4,500 years. It has outlasted everything that existed when it was built. But the thousands of people who dragged those stones across the desert with their bare hands, not a single one of their names survived. They are completely forgotten. And yet they built anyway. Maybe they knew. Maybe they didn't care about their names surviving. Maybe they just cared about the thing they were building together. The work. The meaning. The contribution to something bigger than themselves. So I'll leave you with this, not a conclusion, but a question to sit with. Are you building something that matters or just something that lasts? Because those are not the same thing, and only one of them is actually worth your life. What will you build? Drop your answer in the comments.